Your food is poisonous, Trump is a fascist, and my world's on fire. How about yours? My name is Jovan Bradley, and this is the Weekly Dump. Welcome to the Weekly Dump, your number 2 source for number 1 news. My name is Jovan Bradley, and we are back to bring you more of what you crave, that sweet, sweet leftist indoctrination. We're currently live again in Studio B, and it is Sunday, October 5th. I'm in the studio, as always, with producer Steve, technical director Chris, and director of photography Jonathan. We have a great show lined up for you today. So what I need you to do, I need you to sit back, I need you to relax, and I need you to let that woke mind virus infect you even further. Now, here is just an update for you guys. We have revamped, and we're ready to go with our Patreon. So, if you want to support Red Mirror Media, I need you to go to our Patreon. We got producer Steve. He's going to drop that in the chat for everybody watching on Red Mirror Media's YouTube page. If you're watching on my YouTube page, you don't get that, level of love. And that should tell you that you should click on over to Red Mirror Media's YouTube page where you get the full video, full everything. It's bravissima. So head on over to Patreon. You can either support us for as low as $1. If you're like, hey, I just want to offer what little support I can, we say thank you. You can support us for $5 and get a little bit extra. Get just a little bit extra. Or you can be show specific. Like, hey, I love the Weekly Dump. I just want to support that show. You can do that. I love Critical Mass. I just want to support that show. You can do that. I love shows that aren't out yet. Well, you can't do that. But once they do drop, we will drop them on the Patreon. So why don't you come on over to Red Mirror Media's Patreon. Join us. We also now have super chat capability here on Red Mirror's YouTube. So if you want to send a message to have me read at the end of stream, it's so simple. Type it in the super chat. Send that super chat. Any super chat. We are going to read that message. If you're like, I want Jovan to say the most unhinged thing ever, you can do it. I will do anything for $5, okay? And yes, I meant what I know what I said. Did I stutter? I will do anything for $5. Anyway, you can support us by super chatting as well over on Red Mirror Media's YouTube page. Thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting the show. We have an awesome show lined up for you, filled with news and filled with discussion. If you want to chat with me, we already have the call-in lines are open. So the call-in lines and the screeners are open. Now listen, MAGA, Trump, they're ruining this country. So why don't you call in and talk to us about it? 914-268-6224. That number again, 914-268-6224. You can call us. You can chat with us. If you disagree, I want to hear from you. I want to hear why you disagree. Now, I think your disagreement will probably be something stupid, but call anyway. We are going to prioritize debate callers, but if you just want to chat, if you just want to shoot the shit with me, call in and shoot the shit, man. What's up? Take your shot. Now, we will have this number periodically showing up all stream. If you're watching on the vertical, you see it there. Call in, okay? Call in, let us know what you want to talk about, okay? Now, we are going to get into our news, so I just need you guys to sit back. I need you to relax. And I need you to get kind of worried and freaked out because shit is going crazy in the United States of America. So, let's get to it. Let's talk about what's happened this week. First up, tonight, we need to talk about a food safety crisis that's been quietly escalating since June. And hey, look around. Where's our health secretary when you need him? Oh, right. He's probably filming another shirtless workout video or explaining how seed oils cause migraines and hemorrhoids. Well, federal health authorities are warning people to immediately throw away certain ready-to-eat pasta dishes from both Trader Joe's and Walmart after confirming they're connected to a listeria outbreak that has spread to about 15 states. The outbreak has killed 4 people, hospitalized 19 others, and caused a pregnant woman to lose her baby. Now, I know the Make America Healthy Again nut jobs are sitting there scoffing at their screens right now, going, Jovan, our glorious leader and poster boy for physical fitness, RFK Jr., has to be on top of this. Well, not exactly. See, a deadly bacteria has been spreading through our food supply for months, and RFK is still going on about how raw milk is a superfood. The USDA issued an alert about two specific products: market side linguine with beef meatballs from Walmart, and Trader Joe's Cajun style blackened chicken breast fettuccine Alfredo. Which, side note, I know their listeria is a bad thing, but they look delicious. Now, both having expiration dates in late September and early October. The pasta in these meals tested positive for Listeria monocytogenes, the same strain that triggered recalls of chicken fettuccine Alfredo products back in June. The culprit in the Listeria outbreak is Nate's Fine Foods. Now, be careful, as there could be more affected products out there. Federal agencies are telling people to monitor for updates because additional recalls might be necessary. But sure, RFK, tell us more about how fluoride in the water is the real threat. Not the Listeria, not the 4 dead Americans, and definitely not the pregnant woman who lost her baby. No, it's the vaccines and fluoride we should all be so worried about. Now, if you get Listeria, you might experience fever, muscle pain, digestive issues, a stiff neck, confusion, or trouble with balance. Symptoms typically show up within 2 weeks of eating bad food, but could happen as quickly as the same day or take up to 10 weeks. So if you bought these products, toss them immediately. Clean everything they touched and contact your doctor if you develop symptoms. This is what actual public health should be about. It's not clickbaity titles like, does Tylenol cause autism? It doesn't, by the way. But about informing the American public about real and credible dangers to their health through safe food monitoring and a nationwide reporting system. You know, the kind of work that happens when you staff health agencies with qualified professionals instead of wellness influencers who think raw bear liver is fine, but pasteurization is tyranny. Enjoy these health tests and warnings while you still can, because they may not be around forever. Speaking of staffing issues, over 150,000 federal employees just left their jobs this week in what's being called the largest mass resignation in American history. Let me repeat that. The largest mass resignation in American history. And no, I am not talking about the government shutdown. We will get to that later. This is something entirely different. Tuesday marked the official end date for workers who took Trump's fork in the road buyout, a program that let them resign while getting paid through September 30th. The Trump administration modeled this directly on what Elon Musk did when he bought Twitter, and we all remember how well that turned out, right? Now, here's what should terrify every American. When you factor in layoffs, additional buyouts, early retirements, and regular turnover, the federal government is on track to lose roughly 275,000 to 300,000 workers by the end of this year. That would be the largest single-year workforce reduction since World War II. And notice, traditional media coverage on this is all but non-existent. You got a few articles here and there, maybe a brief mention on cable news between segments about whatever culture war nonsense they're pushing this week, but no real deep dive. You want to know who these 150,000 people actually are? Well, they're people like Stephanie. Man, I'm going to say this wrong. Forgive me if I ever say a name about anybody on this show. Forgive me. Stephanie Cherkaoui. Stephanie Cherkaoui. I'm going to go with that. Who managed training for the 9,000 employees at the USDA's Food Safety and Inspection Service. You know, the folks who make sure your pre-cooked pasta dishes don't contain Listeria. She's applied to hundreds of jobs since April and gotten maybe a handful of interviews. The Washington, D.C. area job market is completely flooded with qualified former federal workers who can't find employment. Or there's Jay, a transportation department data analyst who studied crash statistics, road quality, and bridge safety. He took the buyout after Doge terminated his office lease and Trump issued orders suggesting his job might be relocated from Midwest to DC. Turns out, his office lease got restored. His team wasn't moved, and the threats that pushed him out never materialized. And now he regrets leaving because his new private sector job isn't nearly as fulfilling, and he gave up those sweet, sweet federal benefits for nothing. Then there's Marie at the Energy Department, who got fired in February as part of Trump's purge of probationary workers, got temporarily reinstated by a court, then took the buyout because she feared getting fired again. Her agency never ended up conducting those mass layoffs everyone feared. She gave up her dream of working on national energy policy based on threats that never came to pass. Do you see the pattern here? The Trump administration created an environment of fear and chaos, made threats about relocations and mass firings, pressured people into taking this deal, and then many of those threats never materialized. Back in January, the administration predicted 5 to 10% of the workforce would take the deal. They got 6.7. And how did they get there? Through intimidation, confusion, and manufactured crisis. Oh, and here's another fun detail that basically got zero coverage. Some agencies mistakenly fired probationary employees who had actually accepted the fork deal. Workers at the Education Department, Small Business Administration, USDA, FEMA, and Forest Service took the resignation offer, then got fired anyway. Some agencies had to scramble to reinstate people after realizing their mistake, including workers in nuclear safety roles. Nuclear safety roles. They fired people handling nuclear safety by mistake. And this barely made headlines. And now, add the government shutdown to the list, which we will talk about later in the show. We have Republicans blaming Democrats for not passing a clean funding bill, but convenient timing, right? Mass exodus of federal workers followed immediately by a shutdown. Hey, nothing suspicious there, 150,000 workers, many of whom now regret their decision, many of whom were essentially coerced through fear and misinformation, many of whom had those fears turn out to be completely unfounded. They are gone. And most Americans have no idea this even happened. So when your food takes longer to get inspected, when your Social Security claims sit in limbo, and when veteran services slow to a crawl, when bridges don't get safety inspected, remember this moment. Remember when the largest mass resignation in American history happened and the media barely covered it. Now, if you want to talk about any of these stories, if you want to chat with me, if you want to defend your God King Donald Trump, then I suggest calling in the number 914-268-6224. That number again, 914-268-6224. We have a bunch of things happening. We have the call-in screeners just waiting there to take your call and find out, hey, are you a MAGA idiot or are you a sensible person who has an education, who maybe can think past, I don't know, a kindergarten level? Do you support common sense legislation to help American people? Or do you just want to talk over and over about how Donald Trump deserves to sue a bunch of people? Well, next up, let's talk about Donald Trump suing a bunch of people. Okay? So we need to talk about what might be the most blatant protection racket ever run out of the White House. It's media companies bending the knee in fealty and paying a tribute. YouTube just agreed to pay Donald Trump $24.5 million to settle a lawsuit he filed after the platform suspended his account following January 6th. That makes YouTube the third major tech platform to hand Trump millions. Meta already paid $25 million, and X paid $10 million. Now let's do the math just really quickly. Just follow me here. That's nearly $60 million that tech companies have paid Trump to make his lawsuits go away. And when you add in ABC's $15 million settlement and Paramount's $16 million settlement for the CBS 60 Minutes case, we're talking about over $90 million that has flowed into Trump's pockets or his projects in less than a year. And before you say, but Jovan, settlements happen all the time. Not when lawsuits have zero merit, which is what we are hearing from legal experts and First Amendment scholars. Eric Goldman, a law professor at Santa Clara who specializes in online speech, called the YouTube settlement straight influence peddling and said, which I'll tell you in a second because I dropped my remote, live TV. He also said this is not a sign of any legal merit, okay? Any first-year law student could tell you these cases were garbage. When Trump originally filed these lawsuits in 2021, legal experts predicted he had essentially no chance of winning. YouTube even filed a motion to dismiss in December 21, arguing the lawsuits flipped the First Amendment on its head. So why did all these companies pay up? Well, let me paint you a little picture. Mark Zuckerberg visited Trump at Mar-a-Lago in November, and during that dinner, Trump brought up the litigation and suggested they resolve it. 2 months of negotiations later, and Meta writes a check for $25 million. Meta also just so happens to donate $1 million to Trump's inaugural committee. And Zuckerberg got prime seating at Trump's swearing-in ceremony. Right before the inauguration, Meta announced they were dropping fact-checking on their platform, a longtime demand from Trump and his allies. Google CEO Sundar Pichai and co-founder Sergey Brin attended mediation sessions at Mar-a-Lago in May. Both Pichai and Zuckerberg sat prominently at Trump's second inauguration in what was widely seen as the tech industry showing they intended to work more closely with Trump than they did during his first administration. Their tribute payments from the lords of social media to their commander and king. They're what happens when the President of the United States has regulatory power over your business and also happens to be suing you in court. Paramount settled Trump's CBS lawsuit, which they originally called meritless, and sought to have dismissed, seemingly to clear the way for FCC to approve their Skydance merger, which we've talked about repeatedly on the show. Mark Fowler, who was FCC chairman under Reagan, said the Skydance deal created leverage for Trump's legal team, and that without the FCC's timing and coordination, they could not have done it. Disney suspended Jimmy Kimmel for nearly a week after SEC Chairman Brendan Carr and station owners, who need FCC merger approvals, pressured them. Then, Disney paid Trump $15 million to settle the ABC defamation case. This is a shakedown. Some legal commentators have suggested these settlements constitute a novel pathway to engage in political bribery, and Trump's not even hiding it anymore. When ABC briefly suspended then reinstated Jimmy Kimmel, Trump posted on Truth Social, quote, "I can't believe ABC fake news gave Jimmy Kimmel his job back. Last time I went after them, they gave me $16 million. He's openly bragging about shaking down media companies and threatening companies that don't pay up. And the media is letting him get away with this by treating each settlement as a separate story rather than recognizing the pattern. Trump has figured out how to monetize the presidency by weaponizing lawsuits against companies that need his administration's approval for something. It's corruption. It's extortion. And we're all watching it happen in real time while he builds himself a goddamn gaudy-ass ballroom with the proceeds. Now listen, we're going to do some Jovan's thoughts on this because I can't rightly recall how, maybe it's just me, but wasn't the MAGA crew really upset with Joe Biden for some Hunter Biden? Joe Biden and his administration have done some fucked up shit. You're not going to see me sitting here going, hey, let's support the Democrats. But to try to compare it to what's happening with the Trump administration, what's happening with MAGA, is ridiculous. Joe Biden, we have no actual evidence of like pressure, right? Now, there is evidence that they asked certain platforms to limit certain types of content, especially when it comes to COVID, which I agree with. I think when there's specific public health issues at hand, we should probably get things that are blatant misinformation off of platforms. But like, Trump is openly just kicking people off who disagree with him. He literally has said it. He said it should be illegal for people to go on media that is FCC approved and speak bad about him. He said we should make that illegal. That's a free speech violation if I've ever heard one. Now, if you don't think Trump is violating free speech, call us, 914-268-6224. That number again, 914-268-6224. Call in. The call-in screeners are standing by. Now, look, if nobody calls, then you guys just get to hear the sweet, sweet sound of my sultry voice. Also, consider supporting us on Patreon. Patreon is a place where you can directly support the show. We do have overhead to pay for here, guys. We do want to keep the show running for you weekly. Look how good the show looks today. Like, this is because of you guys who have supported us. So continue supporting us. We would love that, okay? Consider supporting us. Consider super chatting. Producer Steve is in the booth collecting your super chats as we speak. So if you're on Red Mirror Media's YouTube page and you're super chatting, Producer Steve is collecting those. I'm going to read all of them. Probably before we start calls, maybe after. I don't know yet, but I'm going to read all of them. So, let's keep going. Now, let me take a drink of my water first. Now listen, if you have me on as background noise, I need you to stop what you're doing, okay? Stop and just listen to me for a second. Because what happened in Chicago this week should shake you to your fucking core. At 1 a.m. Tuesday morning, 300 federal agents descended on an apartment building in South Shore. Black Hawk helicopters, flashbang grenades, battering rams smashing through doors. Picture it. You're asleep in your bed. It's the middle of the night. Suddenly, bam, an explosion. Your door flies open. Armed men in masks flood your home. You don't know who they are. You don't know what's happening. You're terrified. That's what happened to Roderick Johnson, a 67-year-old American citizen who was dragged outside of his home in zip ties and left there for 3 hours. He asked why they were holding him. He asked for a warrant. He asked for a lawyer. They gave him nothing. 67-year-old, an American, treated like an enemy combatant in his own home. Neighbors watched federal agents pull children from the building without clothes on. Naked kids, ripped from their mother's arms in the middle of the night. How does this make you feel? Does that sound like America to you? Does that sound like freedom? MAGA, are you listening to this? Are you comprehending what is going on? Get on the line and call us if you are, 914-268-6224. Now, Dan Jones came home from work to find his home ransacked. His TV, computer, his furniture, all gone. His clothes were thrown on the floor like garbage. He doesn't know who took his things. The police won't help him. Nobody will answer his questions. His crime? Well, living in the same building as people the government decided to terrorize. And here's what makes this so much worse. The feds claimed they were targeting gang members, but provided zero evidence. Never confirmed that a single person they arrested was actually in a gang. They won't tell us who these people are. They won't tell us what they did. 300 soldiers, helicopters, military weapons, terrorizing an entire building of families. And they can't tell us why. Jones said his Venezuelan neighbors were cool people who helped keep the building clean and who used translation apps to talk to him because they were trying to communicate, trying to be good neighbors. Now their kids are gone, ripped away in the night like something out of a nightmare. Days before this, Border Patrol agents walked through downtown Chicago in tactical gear, making arrests. Their commander admitted on the record they're detaining people based on how they look. How they look. They're not even hiding it anymore. Racial profiling, constitutional violations, military occupation of American cities. And they're doing it openly, proudly, while we're all supposed to just go on about our day. Today, it's Venezuelan families in South Shore, but tomorrow, who knows? Because once we accept that federal agents can kick down doors without warrants, can detain citizens without cause, and can separate children from parents based on nothing but suspicion and race, once we accept that, none of us are safe. And this is what authoritarianism looks like. It's what happened when the Gestapo dragged people from their homes in the night, when the Stasi made neighbors disappear, when military juntas terrorized communities in Argentina and Chile. The excuse is always dangerous criminals or national security, The tactics, they are always the same. Identify a group, dehumanize them, deploy military force, eliminate due process. And the result is always the same. Once the government can do this to one group, they can do it to anyone. Now, we've seen resistance work before, and we know what needs to happen right now. Communities need to organize. Rapid response networks where neighbors alert each other when federal agents arrive. Know your rights training spreading through every apartment building, every church, every community center. Safe houses for families who need protection. Underground networks that keep people alive under the Gestapo, under Pinochet. They can work here too. Document everything. Record every raid. Film every interaction. Get the footage to independent journalists before it can be seized. Create databases of who's been taken, where they're being held, what happened to them. The disappeared only stay disappeared when we let them be forgotten. And hit them economically. Boycott companies that cooperate with these raids. Support businesses that protect their workers. If corporations are financing this operation, make it cost them. Strikes work. Divestment works. Money talks. Make it scream. This only stops when we decide it stops. When enough of us say, not here, not now, not ever. Now, again, I don't know how to parlay this to you guys, but this shit is real, okay? This shit is real. Every single person who looked me in the face and said, they're not doing Project 2025, they're not doing authoritarianism, they're not doing any of that, Jovan. What do you think this is? Do you think I like doing these stories every week? Do you think that I like that once a week I have to sit down and tell you about another civil rights violation? I don't. I hate it. Now, if you are MAGA, first and foremost, you're part of the problem. But second of all, if you want to talk to me, if you want to try to tell me why this is a good thing, 214-268-6224. 214-268-6224. In fact, Producer Steve, have we gotten any calls yet, do you know? I don't know if any MAGA has been brave enough to call in. Oh, we got some calls. Ooh, sit on the line, guys. We'll be with you shortly, right after our next news segment. Now, finally tonight, the government shut down at midnight on Tuesday. Listen, Republicans control the White House. They control the Senate. They control the House. And those motherfuckers still couldn't keep the lights on. But let's talk about how we got here, because the way Trump handled this tells you everything you need to know about his administration, okay? Monday afternoon, Trump met with Democratic leaders Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries at the White House to negotiate keeping the government open.
Okay, well, we met with the president for the first time since all of these issues started, even though we have requested repeated meetings with Leader Thune, Speaker Johnson, and the president. We have very large differences on health care and on their ability to undo whatever budget we agree to through rescissions and through impoundment.
It was a frank and direct discussion with the President of the United States and Republican leaders, but significant and meaningful differences remain. Democrats are fighting to protect the health care of the American people, and we are not going to support a partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of everyday Americans. And let me say, we're deadly serious about addressing the Republican-caused health care crisis because it's a deadly serious issue for the American people. Largest cut to Medicaid in American history. Hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health clinics closing right now.
Now, just 4 hours after that meeting, after it ended, Trump posted an AI-generated video on Truth Social.
There's no way to sugarcoat it. Nobody likes Democrats anymore. We have no voters left because of all of our woke trans bullshit. Not even black people want to vote for us anymore. Even Latinos hate us. So we need new voters. And if we give all these illegal aliens free health care, we might be able to get them on our side so they can vote for us. They can't even speak English, so they won't realize we're just a bunch of woke pieces of shit, you know, at least for a while until they learn English and they realize they hate us too.
Now, that's the president, okay? Hours after his first meeting with the House Democratic leaders, posting racist deepfakes.
And Mr. President, The next time you have something to say about me, don't cop out through a racist and fake AI video. When I'm back in the Oval Office, say it to my face. Say it to my face.
And how did the Trump administration respond to that? Well, let's go to Vice President J.D. Vance.
You've said that you're interested in good faith negotiations with these leaders, but what message does that send? Is it helpful to post pictures of Leader Jeffries in a sombrero if you're trying to have good faith talks with him?
Oh, I think it's funny. The president's joking, and we're having a good time. You can negotiate in good faith while also poking a little bit of fun at some of the absurdities of the Democrats' positions, and even, poking some fun at the absurdity of the Democrats themselves. I mean, I'll tell Hakeem Jeffries right now, I make this solemn promise to you that if you help us reopen the government, the sombrero memes will stop. And I've talked to the President of the United States about that. Now,
well, there you have it. The Vice President of the United States is offering to stop posting racist memes as a negotiating tactic to reopen the government. Now, let's see what Majority Leader Mike Johnson had to say when he was confronted by a reporter.
It's disgraceful. It's bigoted. It's racist. You should call it out. Is it racist? You put a sombrero on a black man who's the leader of the House? You don't see that as racist? We need you desperately to leave.
So let me get this straight really quick. So Trump posts a racist deepfake video. Vance, he laughs about the racist deepfake video. Johnson isn't even sure it's racist. He does disagree with it, but he isn't really sure that it's racist. And somehow, Democrats are supposed to negotiate in good faith with these people. Now, the government officially shut down at midnight after the Senate rejected both a Republican proposal and a Democratic proposal. It's the first shutdown since 2018, Trump's last shutdown, which lasted 34 days. Donald Trump, by the way, is completely correct, though, in who to blame for this shutdown. Let's take a listen.
If there is a shutdown, I think it would be a tremendously negative mark on the President of the United States. He's the one that has to get people together. I hear the Democrats are going to be blamed and the Republicans are going to be blamed. I actually think the president would be blamed.
Well, if you say who gets fired, it always has to be the top. I mean, problems start from the top, and they have to get solved from the top, and the president's the leader, and he's got to get everybody in a room, and he's got to lead.
If you blame Democrats if that happens, when that happens, I would absolutely blame the Democrats.
I heard Boehner, before I left, say there's no way we're going to close up government. Well, that means the other side just won. Because if you don't have that at least threat, you can't do anything. You can't, and they got nothing. You got to say, we're going to close it, we're going to close it. You got to scare them.
As far as keeping the government open, I think we want to keep the government open. Don't you agree?
But you can't negotiate when your top person said, there's no way we close up government.
Build that wall. Now, the obstructionist Democrats would like us not to do it, but believe me, we have to close down our government. We're building that wall.
When the government is, they talk about the government shutdown, they're going to be talking about the President of the United States. Who was the president at that time? So I really think the pressure is on the president.
The Democrats are really looking at something that is very dangerous for our country. They are looking at shutting down. It's not really shutting down the government. It's cutting costs. The kind of money that you're talking about is peanuts.
We have, of all in the world, probably the dumbest leadership. That's why. It's very simple. Nobody has dumb leadership like us.
Now, this is MAGA in a nutshell. Rules for me, not for thee. Every accusation is really just a confession. Gaslight, obstruct, project, the narcissist's prayer. All of it. Now, we talked on my personal channel all week about the shutdown. You know that when we actually look at the text of the bill and the text of what's being proposed by Democrats, undocumented migrants do not receive those benefits. Those benefits go specifically to documented legal residents. Now, you do know that sometimes benefits can be given to migrants if and they are undocumented if a state approves it. That's on the state level. That doesn't come from federal funding. We also know that most of these services are emergency room services. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think anyone who goes into the emergency room should be able to get treated whether they can pay for it or not. Is that a crazy concept? I'm looking in the booth. Hey guys in the booth, is that a crazy fucking concept? They all said no, chat. But of course, MAGA in their infinite wisdom said, it is a crazy It is a crazy concept. We don't want people getting health care. No health care in MAGA land. But guess what? If we provide these people with the care they need, it actually benefits us in the long run. Do you know why? Because undocumented migrants pay upwards of $100 billion a year in taxes. And if you cut out schooling, because why would I be counting schooling for documented children who are legal citizens? If you cut out schooling, they don't even use nearly 3/4 of the money in which they put in tax revenue. So yes, I'm sorry if it's radical to say that people should get the tax benefits they pay for. Crazy. Now, if you want to call in and talk to me, we're about to start taking calls. We are going to go on a brief little break. It's only going to be about 5 minutes. So you just got to wait about 5 minutes, okay? So we can get resituated for calls and all that stuff. But 914-268-6224. I've been told there are people on the line already, so we're going to bring them in. 914-268-6224. Steve, should we do super chats now, or do you think we should do super chats? Okay, let's do some quick super chats. So if you send a super chat over on the Red Mirror Media YouTube, I'm going to read those really quick right now. Jonathan, go ahead and hit that super chat button for me right there, buddy. There we go. That's my test. You gotta update it, Steve. Okay, try it again. Let's see if we can't get those super chats. If not, we can get them later. Okay, we'll get them later. We're going to go on a brief break. I will see you after the break where we'll start taking calls and we'll start debating and discussing. So if you're MAGA, call in. The number's right there, and then we will see you guys in about 5 minutes. Hi, welcome. Hey, how are you? We are back. We are going to start taking calls. It's the debate portion of the show, baby. Oh yeah, we got the super chats ready. Let's knock those out really quickly. We'll knock out those super chats, and then we'll get running. Pull me up the first super chat there, will you, Jonathan? All right, this super chat comes from J-Man Vlogs. He said, "We commie cunt shall reign supreme and take down capitalism one Wi-Fi provider at a time." Love that, J-Man Vlogs. That's a callback to my personal streams, by the way, if you want to know what that means. Let's bring up, what do we got next, super chat wise? $5 from my said very culinary, okay? This show is hyper culinary right now. Mwah. Thank you guys for the super chats. Thank you for supporting the show. We got a super chat from C Blackwood Stone, which say brain rot words. Okay. Skibbity Riz, goon, pee pee poo poo. Oh my god, what are some other brain rot words? 6'7". What? That's a 6'7" is a brain rot word? Whatever. Skibbity toilet. There you go. There's the brain rot. Thank you so much, C Blackwood Stone. All right, thank you for the super chats, you guys. Now let's get into debates. We are going to bring up our first guest. We're going to bring up our first guest here on the show. Everybody give a weekly dump shout out. We're going to pull up, well, if my iPad wants to work for me properly, we're going to pull them up. Hold on. We're pulling up Henry. There we go. Henry, hello. Welcome to the show. Are you there? All right, Henry. Nice to talk to you, Henry. Can you just tell me what your pronouns are, friend? Okay, beautiful. Henry, he, him. Now, Henry, you're calling because you want to talk about where I get my sources and information from. Is that correct? Yeah, what info specifically? Because it is going to be different dependent on like what I'm researching. So like a lot of stuff I'll if we're talking like theory, I get from books, specifically like the readings of Marx and Engels, a lot of other places. Hold on, Henry. Chat is saying they can't hear you. So we're going to get you up for chat really quickly. Do me a favor. Recite Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Henry, did you just forget how Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star goes? Is that what just happened here? Oh, yikes. Oh no, Henry. All right, we're just waiting to see if chat can hear you now. Okay, they're working on it. Hold the line. Oh man. Well, thank you. Hopefully you are catch the streams when we do them every day. Thank you for everybody wondering what Henry said. Henry said that he's a big fan of my content and said that anyone who doesn't watch my content is a pee poo poo head. Now I do think that that's a little harsh, Henry, but I agree. If they don't watch, they're pee poo poo heads. He also said MAGA has ugly hair, so that one was out of left field. That's why they wear the hats. Is crazy. That's actually crazy. That's so funny. I wish that we had it on playback. Okay, what happened? Oh, there we go. Okay. Say something now, Henry. Let's see if they can hear you now.
Twinkle, twinkle, big star. Is that good?
Okay. Can you guys hear Henry now on stream? We just need to know if stream hears you. And if stream hears you, then we're good to go. Okay, we're good to go. Okay, Henry, starting over from the beginning. Like you said, you wanted to know where I got my sources. Which sources, where I get my information from, where specifically, or about what specifically?
I've read
I guess
some of Marx and Engels, right? And this especially is a debate that I'm having amongst my friends, the communism debate. And there's a lot of points that I'm kind of fuzzy on. I haven't fully read through Das Kapital, but I have read the Communist Manifesto. I was wondering if you could suggest any other literature to look at, and I was wondering if I could go over some of the points that I've been fumbling on with you and see if you could just kind of point me in the right direction,
Yeah, so if we're sticking just like going through Marx and Engels, I would read Critique of the Gotha Program and the German Ideology next. Those two are pretty standard for if you've done the manifesto, do those. And then maybe even Socialism Utopic by Engels. That might even also be a good one to throw into the mix.
Socialism Utopic?
Yeah.
What were the other ones?
The other ones were Critique of the Gotha Program and the German Ideology. Those two are pretty good.
And the German Ideology. All right.
Yep. And then you said you had some questions about arguments that you were having trouble overcoming. What are those?
Yes. One of the big ones that I find, even myself, I can't really wrap my head around it. Okay, the idea that, let's say you have a small commune. You said from your previous shows that you are what is it called? A community communist, or what is it?
Council communist.
You believe in a what?
A council communist.
Yes, you believe that, we should have smaller communities that are run by a small council of people making decisions, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And the point that my friends are making, what if somebody decides not to work? And, if that person doesn't want to work, how can they benefit from the system even though they're not contributing anything?
They wouldn't
the difference in jobs. If I'm well, exactly. That's kind of the point that I was making. But then they were but then again, I want, if somebody's homeless and they're on hard times, where do we draw that line? We're well, but
that's the thing.
You're a piece of shit when you're just on a downdraft,
When it comes to communism, when it comes to the way that we do communism, or the way that we do incentivized labor, right? Right now, what's the reason people work? It's so they can eat, right? If they can't work, they don't eat. It's essentially the same, except the difference is you only have to work up to the ability that you have to work, and you don't have to overwork. So right now, we're looking at a 5-day, 40-hour work week as a bare minimum. That doesn't count the amount people have to work overtime. That doesn't count the people that have to work secondary jobs. That doesn't count any of that labor. we would be scaling back a lot of this because we don't need a lot of that labor. We don't need a lot of those positions and those jobs. So it would be more along the lines of you are, how do I usually phrase it? It would be like you work a couple days for a couple hours and then you get your needs met, right? I don't know any single human who has the ability to do that who would say no. They prefer to live in a system where they have to work their life away just to afford to live in a place where they can't even afford rent without two other people. Right?
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm in the same situation right now. I have two other people helping me pay their rent. But is there money in this system?
Nope. There's no need for money.
Paid?
There's paid in
So
what way?
I mean, as in the way that we're paid now. That wouldn't be a thing.
No, we don't need the exchange of currency for labor now. You do the work that you required each day. You're given the things you need to survive.
So what about like amenities? And not amenities, but as in like luxuries, like going out to a restaurant. Is that a thing? Like how does that work?
So you're talking about wants, right? Now, I'm not as worried about a wants-based economy at the moment because we need to get past a needs-based economy first. We shouldn't be focused on what people want until we make sure everyone has their needs. Now you can incentivize extra labor for extras. Like you can say, hey, whoever picks the most potatoes this month gets a little something extra. Sure. Right? Yeah, it's totally fine. Because if people's needs are met, they're only going to do that work if they actually want to do that work. Right? Because they've already got everything they need. Right? They don't need more potatoes. They already have all the potatoes they could need.
Right.
So
your idea is everybody gets housing, everybody gets the things that they absolutely need. And then past that, until everybody's needs are completely met, that's when we focus on the wants, not the needs, as in like going to
I mean, we can focus on both at the same time, but the economy needs to run as a needs-based economy. We need to make sure that when we're looking at how the system is set up, it is prioritizing what a person needs, not what a person wants. I don't want to prioritize Elon Musk when there are people starving in the streets. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. No, I totally get that. And what do we do with the people? Like, I think it's a silly argument for one, because that's the argument that he kept bringing up and he kept pushing on it. Like, oh, what about if this was the way that it was and I could just sit back and get everything I need without working and I wouldn't work? And I'm like, well, there's two things to that. One, you're a horrible person for not wanting to work and not wanting to put into the system, get anything out. But also there's a major amount, at least for me, when I'm unemployed, there's a major amount of mental health stress for me. I'm a person who needs a regimen, and I find that not having a regiment, a work regiment where you're contributing, equals a very, very stressful time. And I find that is enough incentive to get people to work. You know what I mean?
Humans love labor. We don't like work. So they're two different things, right? We love labor. Humans will do labor-intensive tasks if they feel rewarded. And we know that humans don't like sitting still. Look at people who are retired, go back to work. Or they'll start volunteering places because they're bored, right? Look at one of the things I always point to is look at the modding community in like any video game online. There are people who dedicate hours of their free time just because they want to create something. So when someone tells me, well, what if I just didn't do the work? That tells me one of two things. Either A, you aren't interested in benefiting the system, in which case I don't really think you're necessary here. Like if you want to go off onto an island and start your own island land and hopefully hope and beg that people will come follow you for no guarantee of their needs, go nuts. But what it tells me too is you haven't found a fulfilling job. You haven't found something that you like to do without being compensated for. So why don't we just find you a job that fulfills you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But what about the differentiation of jobs? As in, like, in a community like this, there are some jobs that are more important than others, such as, like, the person who provides the food. That's probably one of the most important jobs. So if that person compensated more, there is no more compensation. It's just they're getting their needs met, and that's it, period.
Yeah, they're not getting compensated more for their work, but we can put incentives. Like if we're running low on farmers and we're like, hey, we need people to work on the farms because we don't have enough hands. We incentivize it. We say, hey, anybody who comes into the farm, you get X, Y, or Z this week. You get X, I don't know, you get an extra drink at the bar for free this week. I don't know, whatever it might be, right? Like we can incentivize things. It's up to the community to determine how those incentives work and how they would fold those into like the greater economic picture. One person can't decide it because what might be incentivizing for you might not be for another person. So you have to come together as a group and decide what those incentives might be if you end up needing them. If you don't need them, then you're good.
Okay. Another question I have is, what happens to the people that, let's say, capitalist, greedy, whatever, you got a guy, and he's like, fuck you, I'm not working. I won't do it no matter what. I'm going to sit on my ass. I'm going to benefit off the system. I'm going to try my best.
You're not getting a food delivery. Like, what? Okay.
So
we're not going to drop food off to your house.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Yeah. Like
you
again,
take it out of the community,
if you don't work in a current system, if you're not earning revenue, earning like income, you also don't eat. So I don't know why they think it's a fundamental misunderstanding capitalists have of socialism, communism, is that like people can just sit on their ass and collect. That's never been the case.
Yeah. Well, that's never been the case at any point in history. You have to put in work to get things.
Exactly.
But okay, what is the defining difference between socialism and communism?
Socialism is an economic system. Communism is like a larger way that a society is structured. So socialism is strictly just talking about making sure that the means of production are publicly owned, not privately owned. Communism adds in how we structure government or a governing system, how we would structure life in general, separate of that. And also communism tends to come from the dissolution of the state. So there is a state there can be a state under socialism. There is no state under communism.
Okay. And has there ever been any true socialist societies? I know there's never been a true communist one. Like the CCP wasn't truly communist. They never achieved it.
Well, like this is the thing. Almost every society prior to capitalism was socialist, right? Because we're just talking about the inability to own private property. Almost every indigenous tribe was socialist under this purview. None of them had private property. Yeah. So that's all.
For sure. Nobody owned the means of production and was giving out apples for yeah. Okay. All right, man. Well, I think that's kind of the questions that I have at the moment, and hopefully maybe someday I can call back with more questions.
All right. Well, Henry, thank you so much for calling in. It has been a pleasure. Chat, let's give a round of applause to Henry. Henry was on the line. If you want to debate or conversate, the number 914-268-6224. Numbers on the screen. I see plenty of people chirping in my YouTube chat. I don't see a lot of you guys calling in. You know why? Because you can't defend yourselves. Anyway, that is thank you again to Henry. We're going to bring up our next caller. Next up on the line, we have Zia. Zia? Is that how I pronounce it? Zaya?
It's Zaya.
Zaya, thank you so much for calling, Zaya. Can we just get your pronouns, please?
She, her.
Okay, Zaya, she, her. Zaya, thank you so much for calling. You also wanted to discuss some things about communism. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, Zaya, floor is yours. Go crazy.
So, I am mentally disabled in several ways. Working is just generally very difficult for me. And I was curious about how people like me would work under communism, because obviously capitalism has horribly failed me.
Yeah, well, it's one of the key rules. From each according to their ability. You do what you can. If you can't do it, then you're not going to be forced to. You're still going to be given your needs. We just ask that you can do what you are able to do. If you're not able to do physically demanding work, we wouldn't make you do physically demanding work.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's why I think that the phrasing to each according to their need, from each according to their ability is really important there, because it's all based around what you can do. You might find it that you're what do you do, Zaya? What's one of your hobbies?
I mostly play games, but I've been I like to do programming.
Yeah.
That's like one of the few things I'm capable of putting a lot of time into, really.
Cool. We'll put you on programming. Program whatever you want.
Right now,
do
yeah.
that. We're not going to make you do the physically demanding stuff if you can't do it. Like, people have real disabilities, whether visible or invisible, whether physical or mental. Those people aren't going to be forced to work outside of what they're able to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I figured it'd be something along those lines, but I don't really know anyone who could. I don't really know anyone who is a communist.
Oh, no, I understand. Understand totally.
Well, that's really all I had. Thank you.
Okay, Zay, thank you so much for calling in. You guys can just say it on, if you want to, if production wants to say something about that on the mic into the stream. Okay. Heard. All right. We are going to, man, it looks like everybody wants to talk about communism today. It's like, that's what we're doing. That's okay. That's what we'll do. I don't mind it. We have like 20 minutes left of show. So get those calls in while you can. And also, if you are a part of the Patreon, get ready for the post show. Huh? Yeah, I'm going to take it. I got it. So get ready. We are going to do the post show. So the post show will be specifically on our Patreon, Red Mirror Media, for Critical Mass. Not Critical Mass, that's a different show. For Weekly Dump patrons and anybody who supports all shows. So if you want a post show where you're just going to hear me gabbing and gishing and galloping, come join. Or should we save the post show for next week? Because we actually have to record that stuff after this show. Next week's the post show. No. We got to, because I do got to get back on the road. Next week's the post show. This week we will just get you guys on the Patreon. Next week we'll have the post show. We're gonna bring in our next person. Next up we got Ruben on the line. Hello, Ruben. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I sure can. Ruben on the stream. Ruben, can you just provide me your pronouns, please?
I don't have any pronouns.
I'm sorry, you don't have them.
Yeah, I'm 42 years old. I have 2 kids. I don't do pronouns.
You don't do pronouns. But why do you keep using pronouns to tell me you don't use pronouns?
I don't understand that.
The word I is a pronoun. So you're using a pronoun to tell me that you don't use pronouns. I'm just a little confused.
Am I supposed to have pronouns?
Well, pronouns are just a fact of the English language. They're just ways to replace nouns. We all have them because we're all nouns. So I'm just like, roll with me on this thought experiment real quick. If I walked up to you eating a bowl of chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream, and I looked you in your face and said, I don't eat ice cream, you would be a little confused, right?
Right.
Okay, that's exactly what's happening here. You're using a pronoun to tell me that you don't use pronouns, so it's confusing me a little bit.
Okay, my pronouns are here and now.
Here and now wouldn't be pronouns. So let me just, if I walked up to you and I looked you in the face and said, Ruben, you're she. You're she. She. Her name is Ruben. She hangs out at the mall. You'd be a little annoyed about me if I did that, right? Now imagine I did it like over and over every single day, over and over. You would get annoyed. You'd be like, what the fuck is this person doing? But if I came up and said, this is my friend Ruben, he and I have known each other forever. He goes to Best Buy on Saturdays to check out their new deals on like Chromebooks. If I said that, you would be like, oh yeah, no, totally fine. Right? All right, I'm assuming. Yeah, okay. Well then, Ruben, congratulations. Like many members of the LGBTQ community, you have preferred pronouns.
Okay.
Glad we got there in the end. So now that we know that, Ruben, your preferred pronouns are he, him, what you specifically wanted to debate on why I believed, like why my views on communism are so high? Is that what you were saying?
yeah, I don't really understand the younger generation, and I'm assuming you're younger than me, but why communism is such in high demand by younger people who we live in a very easy society. We live in a society where you can pick up your phone and, you know, have a date in the next 2 hours or order a pizza. So I don't understand.
Some of us can.
Yeah. Right. I don't understand what the attraction is to communism.
Sure. It's because I believe that the system of capitalism is inherently unethical. Capitalism being the ability to own private property. I believe this is an unethical system. And therefore, I would want to look for a system that is the opposite of this, and that would be communism, because communism is having private property that is publicly owned. So this is why I think that capitalism has shown it's inherently broken. Currently, right now, 67% of all new wealth generated goes to 1% of people. I think this is broken. I think when you have a system in which you have a finite resource
But
like money and wealth,
wouldn't that be communism? You just described.
No.
So the 1% controlling most of the wealth in this country
is capitalism. Specifically, it's crony. It's
wouldn't
crony
that be
capitalism.
That's just another fancy word for communism.
It's
I mean,
not.
you're replacing a group of highly skilled, highly intelligent people who control most of the wealth.
Communism is when the means of production, private property, is publicly owned by all of the people. Capitalism is when the means of production or private property is privately owned by individuals. It has nothing to do with who's in control of what percentage of what. This is just to show what is specifically happening under capitalism as we know it. Capitalism, that private property ownership, I believe is wholly unethical. It's an unethical thing. It is wrong that someone can buy a lake and then sell the water.
Land is bad.
Owning land is unethical.
Owning private property.
Owning land is unethical. Owning a home is not. But yes, owning land would be unethical.
But you have to have land in order to put a home on it.
Yes, you don't need to own that land. That land shouldn't be owned by anybody.
But if you don't own the land, you don't own your home.
You can still own your home. You just wouldn't own the land. The land that the home sits on would be owned collectively by everybody, not just you. So a way that this would materialize is like your community. Let's say there's 100 acres, and let's say we build 10 houses on that 100 acres. That 100 acres of land is owned collectively by everybody, but the homes would be owned by the person living in that home. That's how it would work. So I couldn't go into your home, right? But you couldn't just let's say you now take your land and you strike oil, like you're digging in your backyard and you strike oil. You can't then use that oil to make yourself rich while screwing over everybody else in your community. We all own that land. The oil would be for everybody.
But how would you make that work?
It's how most of human society worked up until capitalism showed up.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
You tell me that everybody was a communist up until the late 19th century?
Up until the invention of private property, yes. Everybody lived in a system in which private property ownership was not a thing. So yes, they essentially were communists, yeah. You have feudalism in there too, but feudalism, in my opinion, is like a precursor to capitalism. So it's more capitalistic than anything else.
And do you count the millions of people, the farming working class people in Russia who died under communism?
I would count them in the same way I count the millions upon millions of people that died under capitalism. Right?
How many millions of people died under capitalism?
Billions. Millions of people are dying a year under capitalism currently.
Billions?
Yes.
Sure about that?
Yes. Every person who
There's
dies
only,
because
like,
every single
6 to
person who
7
dies.
billion.
Wait, we'll go through it. Every single person who dies because they can't afford health care or can't afford their medication is a death based upon capitalism. Every single person who dies because they're food insecure or they're starving is a death for capitalism. Every single person who dies because they're working in unsafe conditions and their employers refuse to update their factories because they don't have the money to. That's a death for capitalism. Every person who dies because they go thirsty is a death for capitalism. Everybody who dies of exposure because they can't afford a house is a death due to capitalism.
But
Everybody who
you're
dies in
taking away
slavery,
people's
enslaved in the Congo or Sudan, is a death of capitalism. Every single person dead in Palestine is essentially a death of capitalism because Israel's trying to own their land. These are all tied in together.
Well, you can't just loop everybody in together and then just subtract their individual choices that got them where they are.
Yes, we can.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yes, we can.
How can you take people's choices away?
Because
either
most
as an
people
individual or a group.
Most people aren't homeless because of choice. Almost nobody dies from medical care because from lack of medical care because of choice. People aren't hungry because they chose
the
to be
400,000
hungry.
people a year who die. Then explain, if that's true, then explain the 400,000 people who die under medical care because of botched surgeries.
Those aren't the people I'm talking about. I never brought up botched surgeries. There are people who will die because of malpractice stuff. That's not what I mentioned. I said the people who died because they physically can't afford their care. So they either put off the care, they go into medical debt, or they can't afford their medication because capitalism skyrockets cost. Those are the people I'm talking about. Of course, somebody who dies because their surgeon nips their artery isn't because of capitalism.
But you literally just said that. You literally lumped everybody in
I said specifically people who die because they cannot afford their medical care. I used those words specifically, Ruben.
Who can't afford their medical care?
Yes. If you can't afford medical care, or there is no medical care near you, or there is a lack of doctors in your country because of underdevelopment due to the theft of resources, those would all be deaths due to capitalism.
But I'm just talking about here in America. I can't control what
America,
or
yeah, but
Bolivia.
that's, if you look at just what's going on in America, you're only seeing like 25% of the picture of capitalism. America doesn't exist in a vacuum. We are the largest economic power in the globe, and we have imperial control. Well, not control. We have imperial influence all around the country. You have countries like Haiti who are insanely underdeveloped because the United States fucked them up economically. You have countries like the Congo who are continuing their descent into slavery over cobalt because the United States sells the stuff that needs the cobalt. Right? It's all interconnected. You can't just look at the U.S. and get a whole picture. You have to look at the globe.
But if you're gonna choose cherry pick countries, you have to go deep into their history. These are countries that have refused to catch up with the world. These are countries that
Haiti didn't refuse to catch up to the world. Haiti was under France occupation. Then when France left, the United States occupied Haiti. That's not refusing to. Chile didn't get fucked up because they refused to engage with the rest of the globe. They got fucked up because the United States backed a coup and bombed their presidential palace. Like, these are all things that happened.
Yeah, I understand the CIA was involved in a lot of dumb shit, but that doesn't take away their decision making economically to
what decision?
Get into to get into massive loans that they can't repay via the World Bank or the IMF. What does that have to do with me or the United States? Nobody held a gun to their head and say, hey, get these massive loans that takes away your resources as soon as you can't pay them because your leaders are a bunch of idiots.
What?
What does that have to do with capitalism?
None of this is how, when we're talking about global imperialism, none of this is how it went. Like, we can take a direct example if you want to. Like, look at Cuba. Cuba was being occupied by Spain. The United States said, hey, Cuba, we'll help you kick Spain out. Cuba said, oh, great, thank you. They kicked out Spain. The United States then took over Cuba within a year, and within the time frame of them taking over Cuba to Cuba having a revolution and kicking out the United States destroyed their country, all because they were sucking resources out. What was Cuba supposed to do?
Sucking what resources out of Cuba? Cuba is a giant island. What resources do they have besides nice beaches?
Sugar. We wanted to control the sugar production in Cuba. We wanted their land. We owned, prior to the Cuban Revolution, the United States owned, 2/3 of all of the arable land in Cuba. We owned like 80% of their sugar production, their farms. We wanted that, and we took it. This is all, by the way, stuff admitted to by our government.
Okay, but what does that have to do with capitalism?
That is capitalism.
The American people.
Imperialism is capitalism.
Well, that's corporatism.
Corporations only exist under capitalism. They can only exist under capitalism. Corporatism and capitalism are the same thing.
So you're telling me under communist Russia there was no corporation?
Russia wasn't communist. They had a communist party. They had a communist party that wanted to move to a system of communism, but at most, the USSR was state capitalist. I don't even consider them socialist anymore. The more and more I read about like the USSR, they're state capitalist at best. They did not abolish private property ownership, so they physically can't be communist. That's like the one thing you have to do in order to be considered a socialist or communist society.
They kind of did. That's why
didn't.
All the farmers died because that's why all those people died because they couldn't keep.
Do you know what happened when do you know what happened with the farmers? So what happened is Stalin came in and said, "Hey, we need your farms. We're collectivizing your farms." They said no, so they burned down their crops and then salted their land so nobody could grow food on that land anymore. Because they would have rather destroyed food for everybody. They would have rather made the country go into a downfall of food than give up their land for free. That's what capitalism breeds. It's the same reason why there are tons of grocery stores that put bleach on the food they throw into the dumpster every night. Because it's more cost effective to do that than to allow people to steal the food.
Well, that's not true because in my town, Walmart gives away their food.
Great. I love that. I love that Walmart in your town does that. I'm not talking about just your town. I'm not talking about just one Walmart. I'm saying when there is a practice in the United States of grocery stores who will dump bleach on their food. This has been a reported thing. Just because you've never seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
But you keep generalizing everything. You keep saying all when it's not true.
I didn't say all. I never even said the phrase all. I said that's why there's a practice where some grocery stores, I don't know if you're just not listening, but I've not used the word all. Because I know grocery stores that don't do that. So why would I use the word all?
Well, you said everybody does.
Nope. I said some. SOME. Nope.
Well, after I told you.
Nope.
That's
I
not
said
true.
some at first. That was the first thing I said. I never said all. You heard all. Don't know where you heard it from. But I didn't say all.
Okay. So when Stalin was killing the farmers, it has nothing to do with communism. So Russia is not a communist.
Nope. Russia
country,
was state
in
capitalist
your
at
view.
most. They had a communist party, but they were not a communist system. We also have a communist party
How
in the
can that
United
be
States.
true?
It doesn't make us communist.
Well, how can
Even
that
if
be
they were
true
in power.
when they were taking up all the private property from the farmers?
So again, this is why I call them state capitalists. They still maintain capital, right? It was done via the state level. They still engaged in international markets. They still engaged in private property ownership. It was just at the state level. It wasn't owned by the people. It was owned by the state. State capitalism.
So how would you model your version of communism? How would you make it work? in modern day.
That's a question with like
today.
20 million answers. Like, be more specific. That's such a broad. That'd be like if I said, how would you make a car run? Like, you'd have to answer a million different things. You have to explain how the engine works. You have to explain how the gas works, how the wheels turning work. Like, be more specific about your question.
Well, when you say, you keep saying for the people and everything needs to be owned by the people, how would you make that work today? How would you make a functioning government?
You have to be more specific about your question. You're asking a broad question that has a million answers. Be more specific.
Well, there shouldn't be a million answers.
There's a million answers in every.
You're the one who wants to
okay,
implement
answer me this question. Answer me this question. Okay, how is a video? How would you make a video game console? Like, how would you make a PlayStation?
I would probably start off with the motherboard.
What's a motherboard?
Well, I don't understand what does this analogy have to do
Because you're asking a complex question that doesn't have an easy one-sentence answer. So be more specific on the thing you want to know, how we'd structure, how we'd set up to work. You're asking how I would structure an entire government system. That's not a 2-second answer. We couldn't explain our government system in depth in 2 seconds. If you want like a elevator pitch, I'd make it so that the people all decide together what happens in their government. That's an elevator pitch. But if I give you that elevator pitch, you're going to want me to be more specific, which I can't do unless you ask a more specific question.
Well, wouldn't that be democracy? Wouldn't that be what we have?
Democracy has nothing to do with an economic system. Democracy and communism are interlinked. They're two like, in order to be a communist system, you have to have direct democracy where everybody's opinion matters. That's why we say there is collective ownership. Everybody gets a voice.
Okay, well, let me ask you this way. If you were trying to sell it to me. Give me your best pitch. Make me want to be with you.
Sure. Do you think every single person living currently deserves food, water, and shelter?
Some, not all.
Then you don't agree. There's no reason to keep talking. You physically can't agree with me because we're at ideologically opposed things. I believe every single person who is alive deserves food, water, and shelter. You don't. It's not about a difference in economic system. It's a fundamental difference in ideology.
Well, even bad people?
Every person. When I say every person, I don't put caveats. I think every person, if they are alive, deserves food, water, and shelter. Now, are there some people that I think might deserve not to be alive? Yeah, that's a different question. But every person alive deserves food, water, and shelter.
Okay, I'll agree with you on that.
Great. Then why wouldn't we go to a system in which can provide that for people? Why do you want to exist in a system that does not do that? I don't want to live in a system that doesn't do that. That's a system of cruelty.
But you're talking to everybody in the world, not just everybody in the United States.
Yep. Every single person on the planet deserves food, water, and shelter. And healthcare, but we can just start at the basics.
But it's not. I mean, it's like my 4-year-old saying he believes in Santa Claus. It's not a reality. We can't control what other governments and what other people
we
choose
absolutely
to do with their lives.
have the resources. Wait, so this is two different things. You're asking me to sell you on whether you should believe communism is the thing we should strive to. I'm not asking you to believe that we currently have the power to do it. I'm not asking you to believe that we should be forcing other governments to do it. I'm asking you to believe in the ideology. And the belief in the ideology is simple. If you believe every person deserves food, water, and shelter, then that's it. There is only one system that even wants to try to provide that. And that's a system built around communism. Capitalism doesn't even want to try. But we are at time. I have other people on the line, Ruben. Thank you for calling in. If you'd like to call back another day, feel free, and we can continue the conversation. But we do have other people on the line that we got to get to. But Ruben, thank you for calling in. Thank you for chatting with us today. Okay. We're going to move on to the next person. This is going to be the last call of the show. Anybody that hasn't gotten in, feel free to call back next week if you want to specifically talk on the dump. If you can obviously always call me on my personal channel when I'm live on my personal channel, those times being whenever those times are. We're going to bring up our next caller. This is going to be James. James, hello, are you there?
Hello, how are you doing?
I am chilling, James. Can I get your pronouns, please?
He, him.
Okay, James, he, him. Great. James, you wanted to debate about communism. I see here that you think communism is bad. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, based on what?
Based on its allotment of resources.
What do you mean based on? Can you be more specific?
So when economic system allots resources to its genuine populace, I just think communism's worse at it than market indicators. In like example,
based on what?
Demand, things of that matter.
Yeah, I'm asking based on what evidence do you have that would say that?
Yeah, so I mean I could break it down in an example. If we're making red shirts and blue shirts, and say so you have a centrally planned committee or however you want to run it. There's 100 different ways you can run it in terms of communism. They decide what color the shirt is, right? Or we vote on the color of the shirts that we're going to make. And so say we're making blue shirts, but no one really likes blue shirts. They want red shirts. It's hard to gauge that in real time, where through supply and demand, you would just
I would grossly disagree. It would actually take longer via supply and demand than it would now with the advent of technology. All you got to do is put a poll out on a smartphone that pumps through a text message to everybody that says what color shirt you want. Everybody answers, and then we see, most of the people in town want red shirts. Supply and demand means you have to put both shirts on market.
Or after the bot gets to the poll?
What?
I said, is this before or after the bots get to the poll?
The bots get to the polls?
Yeah, like you can easily manipulate polls. Right?
Is that your for real rebuttal to that? You can also manipulate supply and demand. It's done all the time.
Yeah, through like subsidies and whatnot. Yeah, I agree with that.
So like what what I'm trying to explain here is that a like polling method is going to give you near instant data, where supply and demand, you have to first bring both products to market. You then have to give both products market testing. Then you have to decide based on that market testing which product to continue with. One of these is near instantaneous. One of these is not.
I've argued with some Marxists. I've never heard this one. I guess, yeah, if you can poll it, sure. I can't even really. Yeah, sure.
Okay, and then there's.
I'm sorry, I thought I'd have a better argument for you. I mean, I can move on to something else if you want.
Well, no, it seems like you would then agree communism's better, so we should go to communism.
No, I still wouldn't agree with that.
But you,
this
but
is
why
just
not?
One factor of said.
Okay, well then what's another factor? Because this
system, right?
So let's say you have three. Wait, really quickly, James. Let's say you have three factors. First factor, you've conceded to me on the first factor. Communism can be done in a quicker way to determine needs of a society than capitalism, because capitalism works on supply and demand, which is inherently slower. So what is one of the other reasons why communism is bad?
Because this is largely just a theory, but we could try and run through it, and we could see what happens. But communism leads to illiberalism, where they're mostly illiberal societies, and I just think think that leads to worse
What
material
are you
gain
basing
for
this
the
on?
majority of people.
What are you basing this on?
So, for instance, I can ask you a question. If you have your communist society, right, and we wanted to start a party, me and my friends, we want to start a party to advocate for capitalism, what would you do with that?
We would tell you
What
no.
would be your reaction to that?
Well, two things. One, I would tell you no. I would say get out of here. Two, I would be like, why? Right? Like, what would be the reason? Now, if you're just saying communism doesn't allow for capitalism, I don't see that as a negative. Like, of course they wouldn't.
No,
They're
that's
too
not what we're
diametrically
arguing about.
opposed.
That's not what we're arguing about.
But you're saying it's illiberalism. Liberalism is capitalism.
Yeah. So, but it also includes civil liberties, right? Civil liberties, private property.
Why would you assume? Wait. Yes, we wouldn't allow private property ownership because we view it as unethical. So yeah, but right now what you're saying, we're having two different conversations. You're saying communism is bad because it wouldn't allow for this thing that I want. I know we're arguing whether the systems.
Yeah. So like I would argue that. So like your initial response to that question was no, get out of here, right? Is that correct? Yes or no?
Yes. If you're trying to do capitalism and communism, we would be like, no, get out.
Yeah, no, get out of here. So in a liberal society, we would host your criticism, right? And hopefully debate these ideas.
Do I need to pull the
forward.
long list of the people the CIA has killed for wanting to host the ideas of communism?
That was all deserved.
Do we need to go into McCarthyism?
Yeah, all deserved.
McCarthyism was deserved.
There's nothing wrong with any of that.
I'm sorry. Wait.
So
hold on.
Hold on. James. I can explain it to you. Yeah.
James. You said communism would be bad because if somebody had a different idea, we would get rid of them. Now you're saying capitalism, which has gotten rid of people for different ideas, that was good, actually. I need you to have some semblance of a logical through line
different. Here. So I can explain it to you. When you're advocating for Marxism, what you're really advocating for is a revolution, right? When you're enacting within a capitalist society.
Revolutions are not inherently bad, so what's the issue?
Well, so any government would squash that. Like that's just
wait, but that's not what you said. You said they were good. You said the squashing was good.
Yeah, so they were good because through modern day revolutions, millions of people die. And I don't think
that's not answering the question here, right?
Yeah, I'm
if we're claiming,
to you, right? You want the moral
James,
for it.
James, if we're claiming that it's good, that would mean that it is better to exist in the current system than go to the new system. You're essentially providing me a circular answer. You're saying capitalism is better than communism because capitalism is better than communism.
Yeah, but I'm trying to explain it to you. Yeah, you're not letting me explain. I'm trying to, in the nicest way possible. I'm trying to explain it to you. Where if you have to go through a wildly violent revolution to get through this, then it's not worth it. That's a detriment to the society itself.
Okay, so you believe
argue, but real quick, this is why I'll show leniency to socialists, because socialists typically they will work within the democratic framework. Where if a communist wanted to, I would disagree with it, but if you built a super strong party and elected officials and you changed the system that way, I'd be okay with it.
So I just want to confirm something, James. You agree? You would tell me the American Revolution was not worth it.
Was not worth it?
Yeah. That was a violent revolution. Tons of people lost their lives.
Actually, yeah, no, it wasn't worth it because if we never revolted, the Brits most likely, if they would have just gave us representation,
based on
we would
what?
have a massive union right now.
What are you basing that off of?
If they would have gave us, yeah, so that's what we wanted, right? That's why we revolted.
They weren't going to give us. They didn't want to give us representation. It was kind of a key point there. They refused to give us representation.
So if that's the case, then it's justified, right? Because you're not being represented by your government. And I think communists and liberals alike would advocate for that.
Am I in a fucking bit right now? James,
maybe.
You said if a revolution leads to a lot of death, it's not worth it. The American Revolution had a fairly decent death toll. But it was worth it because the system we ended up with in the end, you would say is a better system. So I'm saying even if it was the case that in order to get to communism, we needed some semblance of violent revolution, if the system we end up with in the end is better, then it was a justified revolution.
Not if the death tolls that it would be enacted to the process. Like I don't think you could prove that the actual death in the revolution would be as bad as like a modern day Marxist revolution.
Right? What are you basing this off of?
We can base this on the Great Leap Forward. We can base this on Lenin and early Russia. We can base this on the purges in Yugoslavia. We can base this on, I mean, there's been communist examples, right? Cuba,
what's too high of a death rate for you? What's too high of a death rate?
Too high of a death rate? Probably like 20% of population, probably not worth the revolution.
So, well, it wouldn't be 20% of the population. It'd be 20% of the people fighting. Typically, you can have a revolution without
the population
civilians
would die
dying.
as well, right?
Why would
like
the population
that's part of the
have
problem with
what?
revolution? If you have a war, right? You would drastically mess up agriculture. Like this is just part of war. And in the modern world, if agriculture gets messed up, people will starve to death. I mean, it's apparent.
James,
right
James,
now,
what's happening right now is you're making up problems, and you're making up problems, and then claiming that communism is bad because of these problems that I made up.
I mean, what problems did I make up?
You're saying the revolution has to come, it has to be violent, and it's going to have this widely crazy death toll, and because of this I don't support communism. We don't know if communism is going to come from a violent Hold on, James. We don't know if communism is going to come from a violent revolution. We don't know if it's going to come from massive worker strikes. We don't know any of that. Socialism, by the way, is the lead into communism. So if you get into socialism through democratic means, then it will dissolve into communism eventually. So like we don't know
I'm
that.
okay with that.
We don't know that
fine.
the revolution is going to. So then your point has no merit here. All I have to say is, we just won't get to communism through violent means, and then bada bing, bada boom.
I think you're argument, but I think you would agree that unless the entire world is communist, the system's always going to be at odds with capitalism, and capitalism outperforms communism in terms of
and
like
capitalism
material.
kills millions of people to shut communists up,
That's
but you
fine,
don't
we're not
seem to
talking
care
about
about that. Right? You don't care that capitalism
we're talking
killed.
about that, like,
Wait. You don't seem to care that capitalism.
I do care.
Okay, but then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like I'm okay with regulating capitalism and like institutions. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, James, it's been real. It's been fun, but I can't say it's been real fun. Thanks for calling. We are out of time for our show today, everybody. We are out of time for the weekly dump. I hope you have enjoyed this foray into the madness of my debate mind. If you want to continue hearing these conversations, follow us here at Red Mirror Media. Do we have any other super chats? Okay, great. Follow us here at Red Mirror Media. You're going to get all the videos from this posted later this week. Follow us on socials. Follow me, Jovan Bradley. If you want more of me tonight, I'll be live with Jimmy Snow on Calling It Now, and then Forrest Valkai on The Line After Dark. Go to my pages to get the info for that. Thank you so much for watching. My name has been Jovan Bradley, and I still don't have an outro. Goodbye, everybody.